Right, so welcome to Murray Meets, and very excited to be here. Very excited to be talking to all of you. We've got a very exciting gentleman to talk to today as well. It's Tom Maynard. He's the head of the UK and Europe sales for Virgin Atlantic. Hi, Tom.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I suppose we should kick off. I mean, anybody who's going to see this and see the video, I suppose we should celebrate the fact that it's National Christmas Jumper Day, and I can see you're sporting a rather fine-looking gentleman there on the front of your sweatshirt.
My rain beer.
Your rain beer. I mean, it's classic, right? Mine's a bit more normal. I just got a reindeer. So my reindeer.
It's Friday. You know, we'll crack open a beer later this afternoon. Try and get into that Christmas spirit. So yeah, we're all sporting Christmas Jumpers Day across Virgin Atlantic. So yeah. I had to get involved.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, I mean, we need plenty of cheer at the moment. So, I mean, why not indeed, you know? Well, look, I think before we sort of kick into some of the questions and talk about what's happened this year, how it's looking next year and all that jazz. I mean, for those who obviously don't know you, Tom, why don't you just give a little bit of background to yourself? I know that you've only just, you're halfway through the year. You joined Virgin, and before that, you were with BCD.
I joined Virgin Atlantic on the 2nd of August, which was quite an auspicious day because that's the day that the UK opened its borders to US travellers. So that was one of the milestones that we've kind of gone through over the course of the last 5-6 months. So prior to joining Virgin Atlantic, I was with BCD Travel. I was there for about 3 years, and my journey within kind of corporate travel started 20 years ago. So I've worked for airlines before, I've worked for TMCs. I then went to what some would call the dark side and worked as a travel manager for 7-8 years in various cities around the world. But I've always loved being part of the travel industry, and it's great to be back in the airline industry, albeit at a tough time for us. But you know, it's a great time to join Virgin Atlantic and really be part of that startup mentality, which we now have as borders start opening. So it's a real privilege and honor to be working with such a great organization, albeit we're a lot smaller than we were going into the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, look, everybody knows Virgin, right? I mean, the roots of Virgin are legendary, and I guess that, you know, pulling on the best of what Virgin offers as a brand, which is about being pioneering and being creative in times of either disruption or in times of trying something new. So I mean, here you came in here in August, joined the carrier, walked through the front doors. What happened? What did they say? Did they say, okay, right, here's the problem, or here's the good news?
I think it was good news. I think joining at that time, there was a real momentum, there was a real energy and belief that we had gone through probably the worst of the pandemic. You know, as I say, the UK borders had reopened, the UK had come out of lockdown, you know, a couple of months beforehand, and we were starting to see some of those green shoots of recovery, be it from the kind of the premium leisure perspective, or indeed some of the corporate perspective. So it was a real kind of all hands on deck. How are we going to make sure that Virgin Atlantic is ready and able to kind of seize on those opportunities and almost be first out of the gate with our corporate partners, with our trade partners, really to make sure that you know, we weren't left behind. And you know, we'd come to a point where, you know, my team now is obviously a lot smaller. The team was still on furlough. So how do we get that momentum and start kind of creating that engagement with our corporate customers? So it really was, you know, first morning I went down to VHQ in Gatwick, you know, to pick up, you know, do the HR stuff, pick up your badge, your laptop, your phone, and my boss phoned me. He goes, right, we've got an event in London to welcome in some travellers from the US on that first flight that was allowed into the UK. Go up to London and do a trade event. And I was like, okay. I've been with the company for 3 hours, and here I am representing Virgin Atlantic with some of our key US partners, and it was a great way to do it because it was, you know, all hands on deck. Let's go.
Yeah, must have been lovely to. I mean, again, I think we're all so jaded by being stuck in. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, great timing. It was the moment where we all felt we kind of coming out of it. So when you're up in London, when you saw those guys, and that's loving being in person, you can't beat it. I mean, this is great to chat over the calls, etc. But there's nothing better than being in person. I mean, what were the two or three key messages you wanted to deliver to those guys and to any press that were there to sort of really push the fact that things were back and here's how we're going to work and here's how we're all excited to do it?
I think the key messages from a Virgin Atlantic perspective is we are still here. We are still operating. We are still Virgin Atlantic. Obviously, we had gone through a really tough time. We're 50% smaller than we were going into the pandemic. We closed, the Gatwick base. We got rid of the 747. So there was lots of kind of iconic decisions that were made to move away from the kind of the old Virgin Atlantic. So it was really just to reinforce that we are here. We are ready to do business. We're ready to support you and you to support us and work together in that real partnership. And I think the key kind of sentiment that came out of it was we will get through this together through partnership by working together. And really that for me, and also going to an in-person event day one of a new organization and bumping into 3 or 4 people that I knew from previous roles, previous jobs. That's what travel's all about, is reconnecting people. And if we can't do it as an industry and we can't do those types of events, then why should anybody else? So I think it was a real clear optic to the market as well to say, look, we are back and we're ready to support you and your corporate customers, your trade partners, and getting people back to traveling.
Yeah, great. And of course, great advantage moment because you've worked for BCDs, right? So you've been through, I guess, most of 220 or all of 220 and then half of 221, right? You've been there during probably the most challenging time. Yeah. I mean, I'm in awe of the trade, of how they've survived, and they just put the customer center stage. They service like mad, and I think it's testament to the strength of those people and those individuals and those companies that they weathered what has been probably the hardest. I mean, in my 22 years in the industry, I mean, the hardest time we've been through. I mean, what was your experience from BCD that you could sort of bring in and to really sort of enforce your message when you were at Virgin?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's about the resilience. It's the resilience of the people. It's about the resilience of the organizations and the fact that, we are here to service our corporate clients, from a BCD perspective. So it's really engaging with those customers to work out, how are we going to get through this together. And I think that sense of partnership, and certainly the clients that I was working with kind of said, right, we're all in this together. We will support you. We will continue to pay you. We're not going to look at transactions and all that kind of stuff. We're going to pay for our staff because we understand that the knowledge and experience that our frontline consultants have, we can't replace. And this, we will come out at the end of this pandemic, and we want to make sure that we're looking after the right people to be able to service our business. And so again, that sense of partnership. But also, I think, I was furloughed for a couple of months, and a lot of my colleagues were furloughed. And it was to think, what, we have to do this. We have to do this so that we survive as an organization, but we also survive as an industry. So I think there was that real kind of spirit of collaboration that, yes, I'll do my bit. And whether that's being furloughed or whether it's about, taking a reduction in salary, everybody did their bit. And I think, the TMCs, they've had, as with the airlines, as with everybody in this industry, have had a really tough time. But it's how do we pivot? How do we come out stronger post-pandemic? And I think from a Virgin Atlantic perspective and from a BCD perspective, some of those changes internally will mean that we survive, and that's going to be crucial for the industry as a whole.
Listen, I think that said, it's the chain of travel, and all those participants all working together, collaboration, teamwork, working together. Everybody's in it in the same place, and I think that we've come out of the worst, and we're now into some more. It's bumpy, right? But it's not as bad as it was if we were talking this time in the end of 220. So back onto Virgin then. I mean, look, I know you were quite creative with your routes. I mean, you threw routes out onto the Caribbean, etc. What's the current schedules? What's the current look of Virgin for those who are looking to buy tickets from you? Where where have you focused the routes? Where do you see sort of into 2022, the winter into the summer?
I think I think we've had a unique opportunity over the pandemic to really look at the route network, to look at how we operate. So, as I said, we closed Gatwick. We were able to consolidate our flying program out of our London flying program out of Heathrow, which has brought huge opportunities for us, particularly with some of our GSAs in terms of that through traffic onto our Caribbean routes through London. Obviously, we created some new predominantly VFR routes into Pakistan. Those are doing very well. So I think that the opportunity that we have as an airline is to continue to be that nimble, flexible airline to see, look, where are some opportunities to go after new business, new opportunities, focusing on whether it's VFR, premium leisure, our corporate business, and then working with our JV partners, particularly with Delta, to say, look, where are those gaps, where are those white spaces in kind of the network that we can fill, and we think that has the right blend of traveller type. So if you look at our flying schedule for 2022, some of our very strong corporate routes, your Seattles, your Washingtons, they haven't been brought back as quickly as some of our other routes, such as San Francisco, Vegas, Orlando, because they haven't got the mix between premium leisure, VFR, and corporate. And I think the way that we're looking going forward is that every route has to be profitable, and it has to be sustainably profitable. So having that blend of mix is going to be really crucial as we go forward, and being able to almost blend the different types of passengers that we carry. So I think that mentality will continue. We'll continue to look at new opportunities for additional routes into the network. Some of the Asian routes we don't feel are going to come back probably until summer 2022. So that frees up some aircraft. Where are we going to use those aircraft? We started flying out of Edinburgh into the Caribbean now. We've got some Manchester flights into the Caribbean. So again, it's having that flexibility, and the network team are doing an amazing job in terms of looking at where those opportunities and being quick to market with that as well. So typically it would have started 6 months to start a new route, and we're turning them around in maybe 2-3 months instead. So I think that's the bit that we need to continue to focus on.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I mean, being nimble. I mean, there's such a huge operational logistic challenge in taking an airplane and flying it from point A to point B. So to be able to turn everything around on a very short timeline to react to those market conditions, and that is a change. I mean, that's something that I think all the airlines are really stepping up onto, because you've got everything from the pure logistics operations down at the airport, but right back through to revenue management, pricing, and sales, etc., and all the marketing. I mean, I know that obviously for us that we're supporting you out of Europe, the interline feeds, customers are very, very creative. They're going to look around. There's been some very good traditional flows of traffic through Heathrow. I mean, Heathrow is it, isn't it? Heathrow is the airport. The transatlantic market is the market that we've been waiting. I mean, it was the best news, I think, that we got when the transatlantic came back on, and so things immediately begin to ramp up. So I can see from our initial numbers, we can see the uptick, and again, back to the resilience of those agents that are out there selling us and promoting us, and us, our ability to market you and to get the brand out there. So that chain is now spinning again, and that's really good news. So your view for 2022 is it's going to be, you're going to be fast and nimble. You're going to move with this blend. I think that's also really clever. I mean, this idea of you've got to now look at the total revenue pot. Corporate travel coming back versus leisure travel versus premium. I mean, that's a great mix of products and services to offer. So that's really, you feel quite optimistic about 2022. You feel that things are going to be.
I do. I mean, my remit really is the corporate and trade relationships. I also manage all of our global accounts from a corporate perspective. And we're expecting corporate to come back, certainly not to 2019 levels, but probably somewhere about 65% return of corporate. So we have to fill the aircraft with other passengers, and whether that's VFR, whether that's premium leisure. So therefore we need to fly the routes that are attractive to that category of traveller as well. And I think that will continue to flow through. I think the US borders opening, and yes, we've hit a bit of a road bump in December with the new testing regimes that have come in and basically have not killed off, but really dampened some of that corporate expectation. It's December. We would expect some of that anyway. We were kind of hoping that we'd get another couple of weeks of corporate business because of the pent-up demand. But I think there's a lot of confusion around some of the testing protocols, and confidence is being hit a little bit. But I think that's a short-term blip. And we'll start to see the corporate travel return in early January. We saw a massive lift in corporate travel in November when obviously the US borders opened. We were 127% up out of the UK on corporate. But it's still only 30% recovered from 2019. So we've got to kind of manage those expectations. But I do think 2022 is going to be encouraging. I think we've got the right network right now. It'll be great to be able to reintroduce some other routes when the time is right. We're still not sure, as I said earlier, what's going to happen in terms of some of the Asian routes, particularly Shanghai. We'd love to start operating back up there, but we're still restricted to do that by the Chinese government. So lots of work's in progress, but I think is that bringing that nimble approach to the network and to everything we do is going to be vital. Yeah, I mean, it all sounds fantastic. You can only manage what you can control, right? And I think that probably the other side is that we're all hoping. I don't want to get too kind of political on the call, but obviously we're hoping that governments around the world. I mean, we've improved a lot. Our knowledge, our education, our reactions to the pandemic are improving all the time. I mean, amazing scientists coming out with all these solutions. I think probably the communication of that, this idea of learning to live with what will probably be a few bumps in the road. I mean, the variants will continue for a while longer. And it's how we deal with that and how the governments work with each other to sort of manage the communication of that, because confidence can be knocked very easily, can't it? I mean, everybody, you've got the resilient crowd, they're going to they're bulletproof, they're just going to fly no matter what. But, the majority that we're looking for here who just want to get out there, want to travel again, having that good flow of communication. And I think the airlines and ourselves as industry participants, we can do our bit to reassure and to educate and to make sure people really understand what those regulations are. But I think, yes, on the other side, I guess we're looking for those authorities to come forward also and to deliver information in a constructive, meaningful manner. And that way we all begin to live with it, right? I mean, that's kind of, I think you're right. I think we're going to have to find a way of living with this. I mean, I attended the GBTA conference in Orlando in November, and some of the research that they've done and the insights that they showed, the numbers were really, really strong. I mean, I think it was 86% of people said they wanted to go and travel more than they did in 2019. Now, that may be because we've all been based from home for 2 years and everyone wants to get out and about. So, we expect that. We do expect that peak, and we do expect it to then fall down and become a new norm. I said somewhere around 60-70% of where we were in 2019. But that will continue to grow. And it will grow organically. It will grow because I think organizations will start seeing again the benefits of traveling. I think the interesting piece that we're trying to assess right now is the balance of sustainability, wellness, the need of the organization to travel. So those are the conversations that we're trying to lead and own the narrative with some of our, particularly with our corporate customers around sustainability. We have an incredibly young fleet now. We've retired most, or actually all of our old gas guzzling 747s, etc., which while sad, does help us from an environmental perspective because we're operating, 60% of our fleet are next gen aircraft, and so the emissions that they release are a lot smaller. So we need to start having those conversations and wellness as well that comes into kind of that decision-making process now from a corporate traveler manager perspective, but also from a business traveler perspective. So lots of conversations going on at the moment about that as well.
that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think they're the two words that have come out over the last year, hasn't it? I mean, apart from the learning to live with the pandemic, it's mindfulness and also the future of the planet. Making sure that we've all doing our bit for for improving and for dealing with climate change, etc. And I think the industry and of course the airlines are always going to be the brunt of some pointed fingers, but I think to own that narrative, to be able to turn around and say, look, the world's going to keep spinning, transportation is going to keep improving, technology is going to keep improving, and if you can own that conversation and own your own destiny there, that's fantastic. I mean, brilliant on Virgin. I mean, great words, great link there. I suppose one of the questions I've got then is technology is always one of the things that happens when we go into some crisis. There's always like a big leap forward in some kind of technology, and obviously in our industry we've got some relatively, I would say, legacy, but we've got some very traditional ways of working, the GDSs, etc. But we have seen another noise happening during the last year and a half. It's obviously NDC, the new distribution channels, and how the technology can improve the buying of product and the offering of product, which is great for airlines. Virgin's role in that. Have you got a plan in that field, or is that?
We do have a plan, and I think unfortunately that plan has somewhat been delayed because of the pandemic, because of resources, because of budget. We are working on our NDC strategy, and more will come out of around that during 2022, 2023. But I think it's important to say that we will always be an omni-channel airline. We will continue to work with the trade in terms of making sure that our content is available to our trade partners. NDC is great in terms of being able to package up, being able to bundle, but it's not the only way we can do that. And I think the challenge to the TMCs and to the GDSs is, well, how do you continue to offer the same meaningful content to our traveller community as we can do through our direct channels? So direct is a key part of the focus, as it is for every airline, but so is the trade, and we work very, very closely with the trade, with our GSA partners. That's not going to change. So we will continue to be an omni-channel airline in terms of distribution, and I think technology and advancements are great, but there's a need to kind of balance that in terms of having that distribution strategy that is inclusive.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, it's been great talking to you, Tom. I mean, like, any last words? I mean, to all our trade partners out there, any customers listening in, and anybody outside of travel who happens to listen onto the podcast.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for all of the support that you've shown to Virgin Atlantic over the last 2 years in particular. It has been a very tough time, but we are here. We are strong. We continue to be Virgin Atlantic, and we will continue to bring that Virgin spirit to everything that we do, from our crew who do an amazing job to every aspect of our organisation. But thank you for your business, thank you for your support. And finally, just to say, I wish everybody a very happy and festive season. We're only a couple of weeks away from it now, so hopefully people have a time to relax with friends and family, unwind, re-energize, and look forward to a very productive and safe 2022.
Well, listen, we wish all of the Virgin team an awesome brand, awesome group of guys, all the very best for next year, and obviously to all our industry partners as well. We're all in it together. That's why we're doing these recordings, is to give a message of optimism and keep looking forward, and well done for getting to this point. And we just all got to now, hopefully, I agree, sit back now, reflect over Christmas. You can sit there with your rain beer, jumper on, have a few beers, take a deserved pat on the back, and look forward to restarting in January. We wish you and your guys all the very best. And Tom, thank you very much for being part of this podcast.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you, Ian, and look forward to connecting again soon. Take
care. Well, great. Well, we'll be interviewing more exciting gentlemen from the airline industry going forward, and on this occasion it's goodbye from us, and thank you very much. Take care.